Battle Through the Heavens, Episode 191. The Purifying Demonic Lotus Flame appears in human form. The purifying demonic lotus flame appeared in human form and was besieged by 7 4-star Dao Sheng. Xiao Chen stepped in and crushed the battlefield with the strength of a 5-star Dao Sheng. After everyone entered the demonic flame space, they finally saw the purifying demonic lotus flame. However, its power was far too terrifying. All the major factions decided to join forces to fight it. 7 4-star Dao Sheng joined hands to besiege the purifying demonic lotus flame, while Xiao Yan and the others dealt with the Dao Sheng-level flame slaves controlled by the demonic flame. Above the endless sea of magma, the atmosphere was so tense that it was almost suffocating. Xiao Yan looked at the Dao Sheng flame slaves rushing toward them like madmen, his expression becoming extremely serious. These flame slaves were no ordinary opponents. They were controlled by the purifying demonic lotus flame. They felt no pain and knew no fatigue, only relentless fighting. Xiao Yan understood clearly that although their side also had quite a few Dao Sheng-level experts, trying to play the hero at a moment like this would be foolish. He immediately shouted for everyone to retreat and temporarily avoid the edge of these flame slaves. At this moment, the deputy hallmaster of the Hall of Souls appeared unusually calm. He sneered coldly, completely disregarding the charging flame slaves. With the strength of a late-stage 3-star Dao Sheng, he certainly had the qualifications to speak like that. After all, the strongest among these flame slaves was only at that level. The flame slaves moved at astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, they had rushed before the crowd. Their hollow eyes slowly swept across everyone present before they suddenly erupted and charged toward their chosen targets. Because Xiao Yan's group had more people, 3 flame slaves rushed toward them at once. Fortunately, after a closer look, the strongest among them was only a late-stage 2-star Dao Sheng. Xiao Yan felt slightly relieved. He took on the strongest opponent himself. Shun'er dealt with the early 2-star Dao Sheng, while the great elder of the Little Pill Tower handled the late 1-star Dao Sheng. After giving the instructions, Xiao Yan immediately rushed toward the late 2-star Dao Sheng flame slave. His figure flashed behind the enemy as both hands simultaneously unleashed the great heaven creation palm. 2 powerful palm strikes landed heavily on the flame slave's body. The tremendous force even caused the milky white flames around it to dim slightly. Unfortunately, the flame slave felt no pain and counterattacked wildly. For a moment, Xiao Yan was forced into a somewhat chaotic defense, but he quickly stabilized and gradually gained the upper hand. Each palm strike dispersed more of the flames surrounding the flame slave. Meanwhile, Shun'er and the Great Elder were also progressing smoothly, suppressing their opponents. The entire sky was engulfed in this chaotic battle. But the most eye-catching scene was still the massive battlefield in the center, stretching for thousands of meters. There, 7 4-star Dao Sheng were fiercely fighting the purifying demonic lotus flame. These 7 experts were all seasoned veterans. Even though it was their first time cooperating, their coordination was surprisingly perfect. Under their joint assault, even the purifying demonic lotus flame had to become serious. Outside that main battlefield was the smaller battlefield, where Xiao Yan and the others fought the flame slaves. Among the 10 Dao Sheng flame slaves, Xiao Yan's group handled 3. The remaining 7 were fighting other experts. Many powerful figures had entered the demonic flame space, far outnumbering the flame slaves. However, in terms of overall strength, they were still slightly inferior. Among the 10 flame slaves, 2 possessed 3-star Dao Sheng strength. One of them was entangled by the deputy hall master of the Hall of Souls, but the other had no one capable of stopping it. All the 4-star Dao Sheng were occupied fighting the purifying demonic lotus flame. The strongest person here, the deputy hall master, was already tied down. This unrestrained 3-star Dao Sheng flame slave rampaged like a wolf among sheep. Whoever it saw, it attacked. In the end, 3 2-star Dao Sheng could only barely hold it back. Those unfortunate Dao Zun experts who survived had it even worse. In battles of Dao Sheng level, they did not even dare to approach. They could only flee as far away as possible. Xiao Yan repeatedly struck the flame slave with the yellow spring palm, finally dispersing the last trace of demonic flame on its body. Suddenly he remembered the soul incantation transmitted earlier by that mysterious light sphere. Could it temporarily control the flame slaves? If he could control them, wouldn't his own strength surge dramatically? Thinking of this, Xiao Yan immediately acted. He solidified the surrounding space, immobilizing the weakened flame slave. Then he used soul power to draw a strange rune on its forehead. When the rune formed, Xiaoyan shouted softly and pressed it into the flame slave's forehead. The rune slowly merged into the flesh and invaded its mind. The moment the rune entered its mind, Xiaoyan sensed a scorching aura. Through his soul perception, he saw a milky white flame bead spinning deep inside the flame slave's mind. It contained extremely terrifying energy. The rune slowly approached the flame bead, releasing a strange wave that formed a barrier isolating it. The instant the bead was isolated, Xiaoyan suddenly felt a connection. With a single thought, the flame slave before him obediently lowered its arms and stood beside him like a servant. Xiaoyan could hardly believe it. He had actually succeeded in controlling a flame slave. If he could control all 10 flame slaves, how terrifying would his forces become? However, he quickly calmed down. This control was only temporary. If the purifying demonic lotus flame freed itself, it would definitely use the flame bead to break the seal and regain control. At that moment, the distant main battlefield suddenly erupted with terrifying energy fluctuations. The purifying demonic lotus flame let out a sharp, piercing scream filled with fury and pain. Under the siege of 7 4-star Daosheng, even it was beginning to struggle. Just as Xiaoyan was about to speak, his expression suddenly changed. A flame slave's eyes burst with terrifying light. A violent energy rapidly expanded. "Retreat! It's going to self-detonate," Xiaoyan shouted urgently. Yao Lao and the others were horrified. A Daosheng self-detonation was no joke. Its destructive power could devastate heaven and earth. Just as everyone retreated, the flame slave's body rapidly swelled before exploding violently. A destructive energy storm swept through the sky. Those who ran too slowly were blasted into vomiting blood, their flesh torn apart, and meridians shattered. After the first self-detonation, aside from the one controlled by Xiaoyan, the other flame slaves' eyes all lit up. They began chasing fleeing people madly. Several flame slaves rushed into the crowd and self-detonated. In an instant, many unlucky experts were blown into nothingness. After several earth-shaking explosions, nearly half of the experts who had entered the demonic flame space were wiped out. Before anyone could recover, another roar echoed from the main battlefield. The Hall Master of the Hall of Souls shot into the sky with disheveled hair and slammed out a palm. A gigantic black formation appeared in the sky. It trapped the purifying demonic lotus flame at its center. Shuna cried out in surprise. "That's the heavenly Luo demon sealing formation." It was an extremely powerful sealing formation. Seeing the critical moment, Gu Nanhai and the others also injected their energy into the formation. 6 enormous pillars of energy surged into the array. With such overwhelming power supporting it, the Hall Master of the Hall of Souls changed his hand seals. A black pillar of light filled with mysterious runes shot out from the center of the formation and struck the purifying demonic lotus flame like lightning. The moment it was hit, a strange disintegration force erupted within the pillar. The flames of the purifying demonic lotus flame began to dim under that force. It screamed in agony. The demonic flame grew furious. Its body suddenly expanded into a 1,000-meter-tall flame form. The temperature between heaven and earth instantly soared. The magma below boiled violently as pillars of lava erupted like the end of the world. Under the demonic flame's frantic resistance, even the black light pillar began to twist. The Hall Master of the Hall of Souls shouted for everyone to pour their power into the formation. Otherwise, once the seal was broken, none of them would survive. The 7 4-star Du Sheng desperately poured their Dao Qi into the array. The formation expanded dramatically. The black light pillar became increasingly pure, and the strange energy inside grew even more terrifying. The purifying demonic lotus flame roared in fury, shouting that they were unworthy of sealing it. But under the final desperate effort of the 7 Du Sheng, who even spat out essence blood to strengthen the formation, the pillar shone brilliantly. The enormous body of the purifying demonic lotus flame rapidly shrank. No matter how it roared, it could not resist. With a final shout from the Hall Master of the Hall of Souls, the black pillar that connected heaven and earth quickly contracted. In the end, it became a black cylinder about several meters tall. Inside it floated a cluster of milky white flame, radiating terrifying heat. They had succeeded. After the desperate battle of 7 4-star Do Sheng, the purifying demonic lotus flame was finally sealed. Xiaoyan stared at the black cylinder for a moment. Then he quietly glanced at the Hall Master of the Hall of Souls. At this moment, Ziyan and the others were all heavily injured, their auras extremely weak. The previous battle had clearly consumed a tremendous amount of their strength. Once the purifying demonic lotus flame was sealed, the sky suddenly fell silent. The Hall Master of the Hall of Souls adjusted his breathing and laughed loudly while cupping his hands toward Ziyan and the others in thanks. He said that this cooperation had been very pleasant and that the demonic flame had finally been sealed, eliminating a disaster for the Central Plains. Seeing his attitude, everyone finally relaxed slightly. But at that very moment, a strange smile flashed across the Hall Master's face. Suddenly, he reached toward the black cylinder, trying to snatch it. Laughing arrogantly, he said, "Many thanks for your help. The Hun clan will remember this favor." Everyone was stunned and instantly erupted in angry curses. That old fox truly had ill intentions all along. Ziyan reacted the fastest. Although she was in poor condition, she was proficient in spatial power. She immediately twisted space, causing the black cylinder to shift direction. Seeing the demonic flame slip away just as he was about to obtain it, the Hall Master of the Hall of Souls turned livid. He shouted toward Hun Feng and the Deputy Hall Master, telling them to seize it immediately. Xiaoyan had already expected this. Temporary alliances were never reliable. Before the temptation of something like the purifying demonic lotus flame, any so-called cooperation was meaningless. The moment the Hall Master finished shouting, Xiaoyan moved. With a flap of the green-red bone wings behind his back, he instantly appeared beside the cylinder and reached out to grab it. But just as his hand stretched out, a cold wind suddenly descended from above. The Deputy Hall Master of the Hall of Souls had been watching him all along. Xiaoyan's expression changed. He immediately turned the grab into a palm strike, sending the cylinder flying toward Shun-Er and the others. At the same time, he pointed a finger toward the sky. Yellow Spring Finger collided violently with the Deputy Hall Master's attack. Both of them were forced to retreat several steps. Now everyone had reacted. Pairs of bloodshot eyes stared at the black cylinder flying through the sky. Inside it was the origin of the purifying demonic lotus flame. Whoever obtained it would see their strength skyrocket. In an instant, all the surviving experts rushed toward the cylinder like madmen. A high-level semi-sage managed to grab it and burst into ecstatic laughter. But before his laughter ended, more than a dozen fierce attacks struck him simultaneously. Half his body exploded into a cloud of blood. The battlefield descended into complete chaos. Xiaoyan frowned and tossed 2 jade bottles to Ziyan and Gunan Hai, telling them to recover their injuries quickly. Then he looked at the chaotic crowd, a glint flashing in his eyes, and rushed in. But the moment he reached out, the Deputy Hall Master appeared again, like a ghost, clearly targeting him. Xiaoyan snorted coldly, with a thought. The flame slave he had temporarily controlled rushed forward recklessly and entangled the Deputy Hall Master. Xunergu Qingyang and Yao Lao also attacked simultaneously. For a moment, they actually managed to hold back the late-stage 3-star Du Sheng Deputy Hall Master. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Xiaoyan rushed forward and grabbed one end of the cylinder. But when he tried to pull it, the cylinder did not move at all. Xiaoyan's eyes turned cold. Turning his head, he saw Hun Feng holding the other end. Hun Feng sneered, "Until now, no one has ever taken something from my hands." Xiaoyan curled his lips. "Starting today, there will be." With that, he struck out with a flaming palm directly toward Hun Feng's face. Hun Feng did not dodge. He coldly raised his hand and met the attack head-on. When the 2 palms collided, waves of energy spread across the sky. Even nearby, semi-sage experts were forced backward, and space itself distorted. During their clash, Xiaoyan noticed something strange. A bizarre suction force came from Hun Feng's palm. The heavenly flames in Xiaoyan's hand were actually being absorbed into Hun Feng's body, and once they entered, Xiaoyan could no longer sense them. Xiaoyan was shocked. This man was even more dangerous than the Deputy Hall Master. He immediately unleashed several powerful Do techniques. Hun Feng responded just as fiercely. The two battled fiercely within the sea of flames. Xiaoyan successively used Yellow Spring Finger and Yellow Spring Palm. Hun Feng only sneered and flicked out 2 tiny purple-black beams of light. In an instant, both attacks were completely corroded. Only then did Xiaoyan realize something within Hun Feng's body could devour all kinds of energy. Hun Feng activated his clan mark, and his aura surged to the level of a 3-star Dao Sheng. Xiaoyan also activated his own clan mark, while simultaneously creating a soul avatar. Xiaoyan's main body executed the 5-wheel glass flame art, forming a massive fire disk from 5 different heavenly flames. Meanwhile, the Soul Avatar unleashed Yellow Spring Heavenly Fury, releasing a devastating soul attack. Hun Feng spat out a purple-black beam, turning it into a light barrier before him. The two forces collided. There was no explosion, only ruthless erosion. Hun Feng had not expected Xiao Yan's attack to be so powerful. The barrier shattered, forcing him to retreat. Xiao Yan seized the chance and grabbed the black cylinder, sealing the purifying demonic Lotus flame. But before he could escape, the Hall Master of the Hall of Souls arrived. This man had recovered extremely quickly. He reached out with a palm strike toward Xiao Yan's head. At the critical moment, Xiao Yan threw out a destruction flame Lotus, formed from 5 fused heavenly flames. It exploded instantly. A massive flame storm swept across heaven and earth. Even the magma sea below was blasted into a 10,000-meter crater. When the storm dissipated, the Hall Master of the Hall of Souls actually walked out alive. Although blood dripped from his lips, he had only been injured. Then something even more shocking happened. He formed hand seals. His aura suddenly surged to the early stage of 5-star Dao Sheng. He had been hiding his true strength all along. Ziyan rushed forward to attack, but she was easily knocked back. The Hall Master of the Hall of Souls stepped through the air and approached Xiao Yan. He demanded the origin of the demonic flame. Xiao Yan gripped the cylinder tightly and refused to release it. The Hall Master sneered and appeared before Xiao Yan in a flash. His palm grabbed toward Xiao Yan's skull. At that critical moment, a thin, dry hand suddenly appeared above Xiao Yan's head. With a gentle flick, it knocked the Hall Master's hand away. A hoarse voice slowly echoed, "My descendant is not someone you can decide to kill." The Hall Master's expression darkened as he looked behind Xiao Yan. A figure in plain clothes stood there, his aura strange and unfathomable. It was Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen slowly walked forward. After learning that the enemy was from the Han clan, he simply said in a low voice, "Then kill them." The words were calm, but Xiao Yan could hear the terrifying confidence within them. Until now, Xiao Yan had thought Xiao Chen's strength was around the late 4-star Dao Sheng level, but the confidence behind those words made him realize he had greatly underestimated this ancestor. Xiao Chen took a step forward. His aura began rising rapidly. Mid 4-star, late 4-star, mid 5-star. Within just a few breaths, his aura stabilized at the mid 5-star Dao Sheng level, even stronger than the Hall Master of the Hall of Souls. The Hall Master's face changed drastically. He demanded to know who Xiao Chen really was. Xiao Chen did not answer. He clenched his hand in the air. A giant blood-colored axe condensed instantly. With a swing of his wrist, the axe blade tore through space and slashed toward the 3 enemies with a chain of sonic booms. The Hall Master reacted quickly. He waved his sleeve and pushed the other 2 backward. Then he inhaled sharply and spat out a black sphere 1/2 meter wide. Inside the sphere echoed the miserable screams of countless souls. But the blood axe was too fast. A flash of red light passed. The black sphere split into 2. It did not even have time to explode. The Hall Master of the Hall of Souls spat out blood and retreated in panic. Xiao Chen gave him no chance to recover. He stepped forward twice and swung the axe 3 consecutive times. It was his famous technique, heaven-breaking 3 axes. Only experts at the Hall Master's level could barely see the 3 thin bloodlines flying toward his throat. In desperation, he unleashed a soul burial technique, detonating his own arms. Endless black mist filled the sky, trying to stop the fatal attack. The first bloodline exploded in the mist. The second weakened, but the third bloodline pierced through the black clouds and struck his hiding place precisely. When the mist dissipated, the Hall Master of the Hall of Souls hung in the air covered in blood. A horrifying wound stretched from his shoulder to his abdomen. Even his internal organs were visible. As he poured medicine onto the wound, he shouted angrily into the void, "Elder Mo, you've been watching long enough. Are you still not going to act?" Xiao Yan and the others' expressions changed instantly. There was another Han clan expert hiding in the shadows. From the distant crowd, an old man in grey robes, who had previously been fleeing from the flame slaves and appeared to be only a high-level semi-sage, slowly walked out. As he walked, his appearance began to change. 2 long black eyebrows drooped down. His face became extremely eerie. Gu Nanhai recognized him. His face immediately turned ugly. He whispered a name, Soul Demon Elder, one of the top old generation experts of the Hun clan. He had also infiltrated the demonic flame space. The Soul Demon Elder sighed. He said that any agreements meant nothing in front of the origin of the purifying demonic lotus flame. But he did not attack immediately. Instead, he turned his head toward another empty space. Then he said slowly, "Old monster of the little pill tower, now that I've appeared, why are you still hiding?"